I could never be in a business where I'm just selling a ticket and it's also contributing to the erosion of culture.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Pick Now podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Munn, and today I'm really excited to have Zach Smith on. Zach is the founder of a company called Anywhere.com, which is curated travel experiences around the world. Zach, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jeff. Pleasure to be here and excited to get into this conversation.
Yeah, we'll dig in. One of the things, and I've attached the bio to the episode notes, but I love your story because it starts with a passion and it just kind of organically grew into this business, which now is, growing like gangbusters. It has this footprint literally all over the world. Can you tell us a little bit about, your origin story?
Sure. Yeah, I was a idealistic college graduate and I took a one-way trip to Oaxaca, Mexico, and it was my longest unstructured travel experience that I had. And me and a friend just were kind of body surfing, reading books, really connecting also with each place we went to for a week at a time, or sometimes less, but around that. And I just got to see how these places were in a different light than, oh, I just showed up and I took my pictures and I stayed at this
I
hotel.
took the bus tour, right?
So I started to really, I was practicing my Spanish as well. So I just really enjoyed that contrast of culture. And of course, I'm from Oregon, and it's rainy in the winter, and it was sunny down in Oaxaca, and that was more enjoyable nonetheless. And so I just kind of was very present with every place we went to. Each community, I tried to make friends with local vendors. We would sometimes show up without a plan and go find a small hotel and make a deal for a week, things like that, and it was just really fun. And little by little, made my way south into Nicaragua. Well, actually, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. And when I got to Costa Rica, it felt different. It was so beautiful, so organized in a lot of ways, and just very chill, like a little bit different than parts of Guatemala, where there was a bit of poverty that I witnessed. I didn't really experience that too much in Costa Rica. And one thing led to another, and I wanted to figure out how to extend my travel. And so I started answering emails for this guy in Monteverde, Costa Rica, learning about what people's anxieties were before they showed up on a trip. And they wanted to try to get some reservations confirmed. They wanted to know where they were going to stay. And so I started thinking about tourism from the point of view of, a would-be visitor rather than a traveler in the country.
Can I stop you just for 1 second, Zach, to make sure I'm clear on something? Is this all part of your initial trip to Oaxaca? Did you just go from Oaxaca to wow? Okay, so what time of year was it, and how long are you now away? Because so you took off.
I took
off,
and
then just stayed away.
Yeah, one-way ticket.
Wow.
And so like I said, I was I had a degree in my back pocket. and I had some
Uh-huh.
time. I had saved some money, and I wasn't, racing off to, start grad school right away. I wanted to go explore a little, and that's what I did. And I used little opportunities that showed up to kind of pull threads. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up working for this guy because I had this serendipitous encounter with someone in Nicaragua. And
Uh-huh.
he mentioned that, oh yeah, there's this fella. He sometimes hires travelers. And so fast forward a few weeks, I'm right in front of this guy, and he ends up offering me a job on the
Wow.
spot. And then, there was just so many really interesting kind of like signals that said
Yeah, just these little
I
breadcrumbs
shouldn't be
you
doing
follow.
it.
Yeah,
Also, there was
yeah.
some of like, what am I really doing down here?
Uh-huh.
Um, and in some case, like I was robbed at knife point one time.
Oh.
There was a bank robbery happening in
Mm-hmm.
Monteverde, Costa Rica, and I'm having this thought: why am I doing this? I could just go
Yeah.
home and everything would be easier. But for some reason, I had the appetite for adventure
Uh-huh.
and to see where this uh, journey could lead me. And
Did you have anything scheduled back at home? Like you mentioned grad school, but I don't know if you had been accepted at grad school. Like, did you have anything scheduled that you needed to get back for, or
I
was it
did not. No,
really
I did
okay?
not. I was open
No
ended.
job, no grad
No,
school.
I was
Did you have a
going.
lease?
I didn't have a lease.
Were you
No, no,
paying
no.
rent?
No, I was not paying rent. No, no, no. I
Okay,
mean,
okay,
I
yeah.
was, I was
You were
21.
totally free.
I was 21, 22. Yeah.
Yeah, with a
Uh,
backpack and a dream, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, but I mean, really what it came down to was I was really relaxed in a foreign country. And
Uh,
why I was relaxed was I like I communicated with the locals. I communicated
uh-huh.
with people that were living there, and it became normal life. Like when I was living in Monteverde for a while, playing basketball with a group of guys on Saturday, or doing things that I used to do at home, but
Mm,
I was doing it as a visitor, but kind of as a visitor resident in some way, because I was no
right,
longer just a passing through. I was
right.
I was there, part of a community, and learning how that community operated as being very dependent on tourism, very dependent on visitors. So lots of
Uh-huh.
restaurants, lots of hotels, people going to have experiences in the cloud forest or doing zip lines and things like that. So I started to learn about these patterns that occupied the community and the visitor, and uh, I just felt there was an opportunity to transmit that peace of mind that I was experiencing as, kind of I'm a
Mm,
foreigner, but I'm there living, and I want a visitor
yeah.
to start to feel welcome and that they're in the right place and they're able to do all the things that they are interested in experiencing, but to do so stress free and feeling like they're part of the place they're visiting as opposed to just checking boxes and going from point to point, um, in a big tour bus or with a group of people that are just like them. So I wanted to empower the free and independent traveler. So think of the family that wants to kind of live a little bit more, um, as a unit independently of
Uh-huh.
being part of a group, or an
Gotcha.
adventurous couple that wants to move around. It's their trip, so sometimes they might rent a car, sometimes they might have a private service drive them around from point to point, but they're um, in that country as independent travelers, and that
So,
to me was really more exciting and interesting because we could transmit that feeling of trust and welcomeness in
Mm-hmm.
the local
Mm-hmm.
community to these people. So they had more, well-being while they were in trip.
So the entrepreneur in me wants to know, like, there's this passion, this connection, this desire to create an experience for people similar to the experience that you're having. Your
Yeah.
presence, your sense of calm, your sense of being, not necessarily a local, but like this growing sense that you're part of a community. How does that evolve into a business model, and what does that business model look like?
Well, visitors seek information uh,
Mm-hmm.
prior to arrival. And so publishing information about these places and attracting people that are seeking that information became the business model.
Mm-hmm.
So we launched anywherecostarica.com. That was my business partner and myself's first real expression of what we wanted to have as a form of researching, educating yourself, as well as getting your trip planned by the support of locals that live there and know their country really well. So we
Mm-hmm.
blended that approach of, okay, you know, telling the story of the country, meaning uh, guidebook style, maps and destination profiles and what have you, then with locals that really cared about how you as a visitor experience their country.
Uh-huh.
And so that has always been really kind of the core mission, is to empower that local expert that can put themselves in your shoes as a visitor and help you if you're a family, or if you're a little older and are concerned about mobility issues. We're sensitive to all these different
Mm-hmm.
things that are playing out in people's minds. Honestly, there's these little stressors that are barriers to having a really great experience when you're traveling. And so we try to continually, um, just practice our sensitivities to them and make them feel like they're heard. They can trust us.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be accountable to every moment of their trip. And so that's been the real journey of the business, is that communication prior to arrival, and kind of receiving a lot of those anxieties. Like, people get overwhelmed by the planning. There's all
Right.
this fear of missing out that starts to
Sure.
play in their mind, or there's so many choices, they get overwhelmed. So it we try to be that source of stress-free communication and no pressure sales, and just try to make them make the best use of their time.
So someone's either, a potential client comes to you and they're either working with you or someone in country, and it sounds like they're going through an interview talking about any needs or challenges they have, but also their desires for the trip. And then that person is designing the trip for them and saying, hey, this is based on what you've told me. This is what I recommend. This is what I'm going to create for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. it's
Yeah,
it's
that's amazing.
it's a customized service. So yeah, we really care about understanding the unique you that is the traveler, right?
Uh-huh.
And then
Uh-huh.
we care about helping them feel connected to the places that they're visiting, as well as have the presence to
Mm-hmm.
stay connected to their loved ones and not be stressed out about the logistics that they might be running in their head. What if this happens? What if that happens? So we just want them to feel taken care of, and that's what we specialize in. That. Uh,
And so when did you, if you were to take that, you've seen in like a cafe or something, there's like a framed dollar bill on the wall of like the first customer. Like when was that for you? And in what country did you start? I heard you mention Nicaragua and doing a potential job there. I heard you mention Costa Rica. Like where was your first country where you said,
It
"Yeah, we're doing this."
hunkered down in Costa Rica. That was where the
Uh-huh.
opportunity was, and where there's a level of safety, and
Uh-huh.
ecotourism, cultural
Yeah.
tourism really spoke to me also, um, where the balance of the impacts of your visit are m- more integrated to the society. So there's some
Hmm.
geographies that lots of people go to. However, who they're actually doing business with is the government, or is
Mm.
an elite class that has made deals with the government to have a tourism zone and put this big industrialized system in place for allowing people to eat, sleep, and enjoy the sun in some cases. However,
Uh-huh.
in Costa Rica and in many geographies now, uh, there is more appreciation for balancing those impacts and making sure that the locals of that country are participating in the value creation of visitors. So many small
Hmm.
businesses owned and operated by locals is a critical component to a healthy tourism economy versus,
Hmm.
hey, we're just an airport with a highway to an all-inclusive resort. That's not really a model that supports a larger economic ecosystem.
Right. Okay. So let's go back to Costa Rica. So when did you start in Costa Rica? What year was that?
2006.
2006. Okay. So you're coming up on 20 years of doing this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Fantastic. Okay.
yeah.
So then for those of us who are watching this podcast and are interested in global travel and are wary of the kinds of experiences that you're talking about, I don't want to get a prepackaged thing that's basically been organized by the government. Where are areas to avoid if you're traveling and you want that kind of authentic experience?
Well, you would want to avoid um, cruise ships, um,
Yeah.
and big airline plus all-inclusive packages. Those
Uh-huh.
typically are very inexpensive
Uh-huh.
relative to the cost of I'm moving around this country, I'm actually engaging with the culture, I'm going out to eat at different restaurants, I'm staying in boutique hotels. But the difference is you're building authentic memories about a place, you're learning something. It's an education of culture
Hmm.
rather than
Hmm.
I'm just getting my basic needs met in the 1,000-room hotel. It
Right.
just so happens to be across the border in a different country.
And I'm going to go with a group of people and stand in front of a local attraction and maybe hear some tour guide say the same two or three sentences that they're telling everyone else about that.
Yeah, and you have to look at not only just the mass travel um, footprint, but typically if you're there's hotels, Jeff, that have 7,000 rooms in this world.
Wow.
That is its own ecosystem. Like if you're in a
Yeah.
place with that many other humans,
Uh-huh.
that's what you're experiencing. You're not experiencing the country. You're not
Right. Right.
experiencing the culture of that country. You're going through elevators and hallways and to buffet lines and like that. You're
Yeah.
kind of in a closed system,
Uh-huh.
and again, operating a closed system is efficient, right? You get
Mm-hmm.
economies of scale
Mm-hmm.
really easily. That's why the cruise ship industry and all-inclusive resorts are so popular, because you're capturing a
Yeah.
person in a closed system. But when you are trying to open the system to the free and independent traveler, you have to take on a whole lot more complexity, because now you have to take
Mm-hmm.
responsibility for them making lots of different choices and allowing them to make whatever choice matches their preference or is aligned with their constraints, whether it be time or budget or whatever. And so, but the difference is it's real.
Yeah.
And I could never be in a business where I'm just selling a ticket and it's also contributing to the erosion of culture. So I wanted to
Right.
always be part of something that's real, to help people have that feeling, and to to be the next person that returns home and says, I experienced something real with the help of these guys. And
Yeah.
I think, this is a little soapbox here, but there's a lot of
Feel free.
homogenization that occurs
Mm-hmm.
because of the choices that we make.
Yeah.
And when we're continuing to make price and convenience and the facade of luxury our primary choices, the world will adapt. These geographies will adapt, and they're going to meet that mass
They're,
right where
yeah, they're going to crank
they're
out more of that.
at.
Yeah. You
And
know what? You know what strikes me, Zach, is you talked about wanting to create a stress-free experience for your customers. And ironically, I think a lot of what people are trying to do in those kinds of experiences, whether it's a cruise ship or some kind of, a tour, they're actually trying to create less stress for themselves.
sure.
You're just doing it in a way that's more authentic to the culture and to the ideal of travel as some kind of immersion.
Mm-hmm.
And theirs is much more of a, nothing against Disney, but kind of the
Yeah.
Disneyfication, right? Of a, we're going to crank out the same experience to everyone, and it's going to be amazing. And then they're going to go buy this, shop and buy a souvenir, and we're going to have this business model all along the way. But it's not authentic in the way that the experience you're creating is authentic.
That is a scalable business model, though. The Mick vacation,
Right.
the Mick
Yeah.
luxury, where you
Yeah.
can stamp out this product and,
Hmm.
you know, just flood the airways with it.
Right.
It works. It's easier,
Mhm.
but you
Yeah.
know, that's why we're for the people that are curious. We're for the people that know that what it's gonna like. Yeah, you're looking for this stress-free, safe experience, but what you're getting
Uh-huh.
ultimately is a feeling of being in a mall, or a feeling of um, a stomach ache because you're eating and drinking too much on vacation and you're not moving around
Yeah.
and doing stuff. So, um, you know, uh, there are many different ways to experience this world.
Yeah.
And my deeper motivation is to help people experience the real world, have perspective generating experiences that help them understand there is not a big scary other out there. There is just us.
Mhm.
And
Right.
these 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 cultures have something to teach us, not just about how they live, but the choices that
Mhm.
we're making need to be more conscious because we kind of, especially in America, get really into a what is everyone else doing? What's safe
Mm-hmm.
here? And what is this well-trodden track? And everyone kind of goes on that. And I think there's many ways to live in this world. And and travel is the opportunity to build more tools and awareness
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
what you can do with your life, what you can do with your time, what you can do with, what you're putting in your body. There's just, it just perspective generation, I think, is such a powerful way to connect us, the humans,
Right.
which again, it's a core value. I think it's important in this day where we're so technology addicted. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I just, I hope that people start to, steadily integrate some of the more real things versus following the trend, following, oh, this is, I just booked a ticket to here. I just followed this Instagram follower and I showed up there and it was like crowded and
Right.
messy and not what they were pitching me. But hey, that person got paid and made their money and they're gone. So I,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, Zach, what you're talking about is um, it's like a voyage of self-discovery for people through immersing yourself in another culture and getting to know people from another culture. So there is that opportunity, and there are moments, I would imagine, where not necessarily that they're scary in terms of any danger, but you're taking people outside of their normal routine. You're giving them a guide to help them along the way. But there are some things you learn about yourself when you immerse yourself in a local culture and you eat local food and you engage in local customs that are very different than from what we have, for example, in the U.S. And I think there are a lot of ways to do self discovery, and this sounds like a really cool one to me.
yeah. And so there's certain families and couples and solo travelers and groups that they're digging in. Um, they
Yeah.
want to find a differentiated experience. They want to explore. They have those values, and
Mm.
there's just an easier path to do that, and that is by actually connecting
Yeah.
with a local trip designer that knows exactly what's happening in every one of these places and can help you carve your way through their country to avoid the
Hmm.
pitfalls, avoid the generic stuff, avoid uh, the things that get in the way of enjoying the trip. However,
Yeah.
you have to cede a little bit of control. You have to have a little bit of trust, and
Right.
that's again a hard thing. Many
Hmm.
people, yeah, are just suspicious of what are your intentions. What is the, where's the gotcha moment? And I think we're very conditioned
Yeah.
for that here in the U.S. I think that, yeah, ethical business is sort of having a moment, but it's still got a long way to go. I
Hmm.
think people are oftentimes still very, very wary of that.
So, speaking of gotcha moments, a lot of the people who watch this podcast, who listen to these conversations, are entrepreneurs who are in the process of building their own businesses. Where were the times? I mean, you're starting in 2006. How long did it take you to get to the point of, oh, I think this is actually a sustainable business? And what were the questions or, the waking up at night in a cold sweat, wondering if it can work. What were those things like for you as you were at that early stage? And then we'll talk a little bit about expanding the business as well.
It was very hands-on, time intensive for
Uh-huh.
the first 3 to 4 years. Um, I mean, I had to play every role in the business.
Yeah.
So, communicating with clients, making relationships with suppliers, photographing, writing, working with my partner to design processes and technology that he ultimately built. Um, so
Mm,
there was just lots of moving parts, um,
yeah.
and I was living in Costa Rica, so every day was I was dealing with stuff coming my way. Um,
Uh-huh.
and one of the big challenges was once we stabilized there and a lot of processes were put in place that, had a team of around 30, doing operations, doing communication with clients,
30.
different roles,
Wow.
different roles. Yeah. And the daunting task was, how do we replicate this in another country? Because this is very
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah. Well, and I would think
And that,
just to go back a
that
little
was
bit,
really hard.
did you, yeah,
Mhm.
did you have a model? Like you said, I had to perform all the roles at first, but it seems to me what you're describing, it's not like like you had to figure out what the roles even were, right?
Yeah,
Like what is needed
I
here?
didn't know tourism. I didn't go to tourism school. Me and my partner had never had a tourism
Yeah,
business. We just, again, focused on, hey, how should this work? How this ought to
right,
work, and that became the North Star.
right.
I always
Uh-huh.
I wanted the the locals to be the ambassadors of their country. That was
Yeah.
non-negotiable. That was number one. Always wanted them to have the best tools, the ability to communicate with the visitor prior to
Hmm.
arrival. So that cultural encounter is occurring right when they engage with the service.
Right. From the
So,
very start. That's awesome. Yeah.
and that is the biggest driving motivation, really, is to give them opportunities.
Mhm.
And
So,
so
so of those 30 people that you
uh,
described,
how to do that was always, a moving challenge. But
yeah.
we benefited from the early days of publishing lots of information and rising in the search
Hmm.
engines and getting lots of in-market traffic. So that became, um, a great source for us. Started adding more countries, which had a lot of challenges as far as like, hey, I was used to having, company, bank account, employees. But we have this sort of tourism platform that has been developed for our
Uh-huh.
business. We should, you know, be able to apply this in more locations. But that was hard, to figure out how best to do that. And
Yeah.
ultimately, partnerships became the path forward for that, rather than fully
Uh-huh.
vertically integrating in each geography. We could still vertically integrate the client experience, but
Hmm.
it wasn't necessary for me to have so much administration infrastructure in each place we
Right.
wanted to represent. So that
Well,
was
and you didn't have to
learning.
like home grow all of the people in each location too.
It
You
just
could find the right partner.
I had already kind of like burnt the candle at both ends, and then the
Yeah,
idea
sure.
of doing that and living and like country by country going at it like that,
Hmm.
became just untenable from a health and wellness perspective. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure. Sure. So, how many countries are you in? I know, we had a little bit of a conversation a couple weeks ago
yeah,
about this, and there are the countries that appear on your website, anywhere.com. You said you also have relationships beyond that. Like, where are you now in terms of like presence, different
yeah.
countries, like just roughly how many, and where are you intending to go, both in terms of like scope of geography and maybe, other ways of expanding your business?
Yeah. So on our website, we have 13 geographies published, but we've
Hmm.
planned trips in this year and early next year to over 25 geographies. So
Uh-huh.
places like Japan, New Zealand, Swiss Alps, Greece, Italy, Morocco, Spain, a lot of places that aren't on our website. And we do that for our repeat clients. So once they're a client of
Okay.
ours, we
Uh-huh.
we offer service anywhere, and
Uh-huh.
it's it's a way for us to obviously amplify our value prop and be in more places, as well as put a control that we're not doing a lot of busy work for strangers on the internet,
Hmm.
which is something we've
Hmm.
found to be just an artifact of the modern world that um, is, yeah. We want our network to not be abused by
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
people that don't really understand what we're doing, but they can kind of waste our time. And so
Yeah.
that's
Sure.
and we could go more automation and all that stuff, but which we have plenty of. However, we want that human to human connection to be part of our brand.
Mhm.
So that's how we want to grow, is more of these relationships actually expanding into, hey, when a client works with us, usually two or three of their friends end up working with us within the next year.
Right.
So
And
that's,
they do multiple trips with you, I would
yeah, they
think,
do
too.
multiple trips. And again, that's just so we've experimented with certain high growth uh, um, uh, strategies. It's hard
Uh-huh.
in our ecosystem to do that. We've seen competitors do that and, you
Yeah.
know, lose money or not be able to fulfill their their strategy. So, and they get into a position where now their business is at risk, or they need to keep on raising more money to actually sustain their operations. And we never really wanted to be in that
Right.
position. We want this to be durable, and that's kind of the
Uh-huh.
North Star.
And durable and organic, right? Not, you're not wanting to take outside money. You're not like, I've got one-on-one coaching clients that have private equity money involved, for example, and it's a very different experience and a different
Yeah,
set of pressures on the business.
sure. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's family offices that poke around. Their private equity pokes around
Hmm.
quite a bit. I
Yeah.
think the right financial partner could really amplify our business, and I think,
Hmm.
I'll reconsider it. I think there's certain times where, as an entrepreneur, I think you have to read the opportunity and sometimes
Hmm.
make a choice that is 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 is, is uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
which is like, okay, I got to introduce more people into this ecosystem and let's figure this out. But at the same time, when I was tempted to go pitch the business at certain points of time, and now reflecting back, that was the time when the business wasn't that healthy. So I was going
Oh, so it was
after,
almost from a
yeah, I
you
can go pitch
from a
this
place of
thing. I
fear,
can go
right?
sell it. I can
Yeah.
go sell the dream, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and again, yeah, more money doesn't necessarily solve all those things. It can cover them
No,
up,
and it
and
creates more problems too. Like
right. So
not necessarily bad problems,
yeah,
but yeah,
so
yeah,
I again, being in this long enough, you start to know these the patterns that I think other businesses also follow.
uh-huh,
Is they are often
uh-huh.
raising when it's yeah they need
Oh,
money to
interesting.
sustain
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than
A
oh
lot of times companies will wait too long to raise money, so they're raising from a sense of need or desperation. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So again, we've my partner and I have been able to pay ourselves, pay our team,
Uh-huh.
grow this business, slow and steady. Uh, but I think the infrastructure now is getting into be in a really good place. The brand is in a good place.
Yeah,
There's things that we've worked out, and yeah, maybe amplifying with the right strategic partner. Yeah, that could be
yeah.
a pathway for us to really support our network. Which again, if I the North Star is to help these really amazing communities thrive. A- a-
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
and and for opportunities to show up for these professionals in each of these countries to share their country and earn more in
yeah,
the value chain. And so if that means I have to go through due diligence with a family office, but that's where we're going to go, it's probably worth it.
right.
So,
I was
and
just thinking that, yeah, that a family office might have the perspective and the patience to be a good partner for you. Like if you were to create a wish list, I'm going to put you on the spot, Zach. Like for the ideal financial partner for you, what would that look like? What would you want out of a financial slash strategic partnership to allow you to grow this platform in a way that feels good for you and for the locals?
well, I think it's someone that understands that the status quo in mass travel won't
Hmm.
sustain through this next series of generations. Um,
Yeah.
it's an artifact of a post World War II era, and
Mm.
the world craves authenticity. Humans crave authenticity, but the industrialized movement and um, accommodation and transportation is too homogenous for our unique interests. And so it's someone that has to view human beings as being complex and craving a more complex
Hmm.
travel experience, a more,
Uh-huh.
so like, okay, TV dinners and, fast food was an artifact of the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
We know for sure it's sort of had to reinvent itself to stay relevant as tastes have advanced. And so travel is very
Yeah.
much like that. It's moving in a direction where sustainability, where authenticity, where uh, differentiated and boutique experiences are more desirable, and people will seek
Hmm.
that out. And so it's a strategic partner that believes in that. They have to believe that um, that's the way forward, and we're the counterposition to homogeny. We're the counterposition to a vending machine that only gives you single service transactions or confirmations, uh,
Right.
rather than an organization that does all the point to point logistics and has your whole experience designed for you. So yeah, um, that's sort of belief, understanding where the trend is moving, and
Hmm.
knowing that the brand has the potential to hold that position. Um, and advance it, I think would be the right partner. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to change the topic a little bit and I'm going to speak very selfishly because I've got a son who's a junior in high school, and so he's going to go off to college. And whether we can make it simple, we'll just talk about me. We won't involve my wife because that's a whole separate conversation between me and her. But let's say that I wanted to work and travel for a year, and so I work remotely most of the time. I can really be anywhere. Like, would that be something that you'd be? Do you work with people like that who are basically, digital nomads, if you will? And what advice do you have for them as they think about that more from a global perspective instead of like, okay, I know I want to go to, I'll make up a country, Vietnam.
Hmm.
What do I want my experience? Like, how do I think about that more holistically?
Well, I would say a year is a long time. Um,
Yeah. Probably
and,
wouldn't start with a year, but
and
but that's the fantasy, right? It's like, I'm
right.
going to
Well, listen,
travel and work for a year.
I
Yeah.
think it's important to test drive that experience. Um,
Uh-huh.
and and does that mean you're in one place the whole time, or does that mean you're moving every month or 8 weeks
Yeah.
or something like that? Um,
Yeah.
and getting clear on, hey, is the goal, I want to be in cultures that are contrasting to my own,
Hmm.
like vastly
Hmm.
contrasting. So a place like Vietnam would check
Right.
that box. Um,
Yeah.
I'm just going to assume. Whereas perhaps Portugal or Spain is, although different, not so far on the
Not
spectrum.
as different.
Not as different.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that, even, does it need to be in a new country, or do you just change cities in America or Canada where
Uh-huh. Right.
English is still very predominant? So um,
Yeah.
I there, and then there's living in another country and there's traveling. So
Yeah.
traveling is, yeah, it's meant to be more recreational, more,
Uh-huh.
um, you're experiencing, and there's slow travel, there's deep travel that make a lot of sense. And you extend those trips a little bit longer to get a better feel for those
Hmm.
places. Um, so I think that, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of digital nomads that are, they're going to another country every few weeks. And if you see what happens after a couple years of that, they're usually pretty burnt out and they're looking for some structure.
Hmm.
But if you've had structure for a really long time,
Yeah.
then yeah, pick 3 or 4 countries maybe. And,
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't sign up for more than a month or two in each country unless
Just
you
to start and
really,
see what it's
really
like.
know
Yeah.
it, and then you just have to figure out, hey, am I traveling or am I living in this place? And it's like, if you want to
Right.
live in the place, um, it's very different. You're going to try to get a lease or, or rent or something like this, or you're going to, need
Right.
to enroll your children in school if you're a family, or if this is
Yeah.
a father
Yeah.
son adventure, then maybe just try to have a few more trips that year together,
Right.
but still have a
Right.
home base somewhere.
Yeah, those are a lot of really interesting things to think about. And I've thought so. My son was an exchange student in Japan last year,
Yeah,
and
cool.
my wife and I went to visit him last May, and we were there for 3 weeks. And I loved Japan, and I would very much like to go back. But I think if I did it again, we were changing locations every 2 to 3 days.
Hmm. That's a lot.
And
Yeah.
so that kind of travel to me
Yeah.
is pretty exhausting.
Totally. Yeah.
But if I could plant myself someplace for a week, 2 weeks, a month, really just, you know, going deeper in a narrower set of locations, that to me feels like that's the way I want to travel. It it almost feels like there's this place between traveling and living. Like I
Yeah.
want it to be more like living, but I don't know that I want to like get a lease, you know?
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So it's like slow. I don't know what you've got all these great words that I haven't heard before. So like slow travel, I think like that
yeah.
was like, yeah, I think I could do slow travel. Like I would love to see different places, and I don't want to like hit a museum in the morning and then do this
Right.
park in the afternoon. And then, it's like, ugh,
Right.
yeah, that's
Yeah. Well,
exhausting.
I mean, and that's what modern cities, globally make it so enjoyable to
Yeah.
do on some level, right? You get to go see the human hive that looks a little different than,
Uh-huh.
the hive you grew up in,
Yeah.
or that you're going to spend a lot of time in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, there's, yeah. I mean, obviously it's a very big world, and I think you're onto something there,
Yeah.
uh, because what matters is your experience, and I would say
Hmm.
that the FOMO that a lot of people have sitting at their desks, that, oh, they see the digital nomad out there moving around, putting all these pictures out there that seem so alluring. You'd be surprised how much loneliness actually exists there, and
Yeah.
it starts to get
I could care
I
less
think
about
it gets
that.
a
It's like,
little, it's a little performative, um, and so
uh-huh.
I think seeing through that and just really imagining, like you did, oh, I don't want to move around that much. I want to just be in a place that gets at,
And I want to develop like
yeah,
some friendships,
yeah.
right? Some relationships with people in that place. Um, yeah, these are all great thoughts. So Zach, where do you spend most of your time, or are you all over the place too? Like what is your geographical life like?
I live in Los Angeles with my wife and two kids, so
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty grounded. The
I
kids
thought you
are
were
young.
going to be in Costa
Yeah,
Rica or
yeah.
something, still with a
The kids are
backpack.
5 and soon, actually 9. And today's my son's birthday, so um,
Mm,
we're I I've I feel like I've experienced the slow travel, the deep travel, the rapid travel, the
yeah.
checkbox travel, the all-inclusive
Uh-huh.
travel, the many different variations of it. Uh, and I'm really intentional about how I use my leisure time, my travel time, and my travel budget.
Yeah.
Um, it's, I think it's really important. So I went through a process with my family, um, about where to go for Christmas break, and
Mm,
we, kind of asked ourselves a series of questions like, are we interested in a contrast to, our culture, or are we prioritizing,
yeah.
warm weather? Um, is this more of an adventure, or are we, doing, um, are we going skiing or something like that? So we've done a lot of those. Or are we road tripping? So started kind of narrowing down different things. And so, you know, your son was in Japan. That sounds awesome. And that's the country we selected. So we'll be going there,
Oh.
for, a little after Christmas. And then we have a long New Year's break
Uh-huh.
before our son has to go back to, our son and daughter have to go back to school. So we will be exploring Japan, and it's a new geography for us. We have
Yeah.
multiple clients that have already committed to trips there later this year and in the spring.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to explore that because I've never been. And
Oh, wow. Yeah.
the what's driving that for me is just being in a place that I've been reading a lot of Murakami, which, this guy's an amazing
Uh-huh. Yeah.
writer. And,
Yeah.
and then just what I know about the sort of Zen experience that the, the
Hmm.
people have there, and how so much nonverbal communication occurs. And I'm just really excited about that experience, because I've done a lot of Latin America, Europe, North America, some of Southeast Asia, but I've never been to Japan, and
Yeah.
a high culture that has, a very deep and subtle understanding of how to operate a huge civilization. I'm just excited. You know, yeah,
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating how different the culture is there.
yeah,
Especially, you think about a place like Tokyo or Osaka, some of these much bigger. First of all, it's incredibly easy as someone who does not speak Japanese to get
hmm
around
hmm
and navigate and eat and whatever. Not because something even as simple as like Google Maps works fantastically well for navigating the train system. I mean,
hmm
we never rented a car when we were there,
yeah,
and there's so many opportunities for these wildly different experiences. One of the things that fascinated me about Tokyo is, you think of like the subway and you think of places like New York and you just think of crowds and all this chaos. And yet there in Tokyo, when the train is coming, people line up single file to get on the train. And it's just like automatic that
hmm
there is order and politeness. And I mean, the cities are remarkably quiet. There's no horns blaring. You
hmm
rarely hear a siren.
hmm
It's just fascinating. I
hmm
hope you have an amazing time.
yeah,
I know it was life changing for Lucas, my son, and also just the limited time that my wife and I spent there. It was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a good place to end this conversation, Zach. So I'm guessing there's probably a few people watching our conversation who are curious about what you do and how to reach out to you and how to find out more if they want to travel in this way that you're offering. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, keep track of you?
Well, I post on LinkedIn every now and again, so I'm there.
Uh-huh.
Website is a great place if you're actually interested in a trip, anywhere.com. And I'll provide a
Hmm.
link in the show notes for a sign up discount. So if people want to sign up, they'll receive
Oh,
$100
fantastic.
credit. Yeah, so just a little something for your audience and listeners. And I'll have my email address in there as well. It's b@anywhere.com, the letter B. And and
Uh-huh.
and so yeah, anybody wants to connect, or if they have a specific trip or country they're interested in, I'm happy to talk them through the trade-offs and connect them with one of our global experts. So yeah, pleasure to be here today. Thanks, Jeff.
Awesome. Yeah. Any last words of wisdom for, anyone who has a passion they've thought about turning into a business, which to me is like kind of the definition of your journey. Like what's your advice for them?
Patience. because because the passion does come and go. It's something you can always try to re-tap into, for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Yeah.
But if it's just, you have to be patient with the process. Um,
Yeah.
there's an unfolding that occurs when you continue to put attention into something that you're passionate about. But it is hard to time and know exactly when the results are going to bear fruit. Um, so patience, I think, is one of the things that
Yeah.
entrepreneurs really need to get in touch with. There's so much FOMO out there. There's so much urge to be the next
Hmm.
success that,
And to be it fast
and then
too.
to do it fast and instant
Yeah.
gratification. I think that you're supposed to realize that it's hard to birth something new,
Uh-huh.
and being
Yeah.
patient with that process, and getting into conversations with people that can help spark ideas is another great practice. So yeah.
Well, and what I'm hearing in your journey too, and I've heard this all along the way, first of all, it's so aligned with who you are. It just feels like it has this deep spiritual component to it. But also, there's just a whole heck of a lot of self-trust in there, Zach, that this thing that you wanted to create, if you were patient and you kept making the decisions that you needed to make over and over again, it would turn into something. And it has turned into something. And I've really loved hearing about your journey and talking with you about travel. And let's absolutely stay in touch outside of this conversation. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast. So,
Really, really.
with that, I will sign off. Yeah.
All
Take
right.
care, everyone. And we'll see you next time.